Hey everybody, welcome back to another news roundup. Hope you guys been enjoying the content on the channel as of late. Strap in because we are in for another long news roundup, likely probably going to be hitting an hour, we'll see. Because we got tons of news this week. CinemaCon, of course, happened, so we got a lot of things to talk about, amongst some other things. So we're just going to start getting into it. So I'm just going to cut this short, and let's just dive right on in. So the first thing we're going to discuss before we get into some CinemaCon discussions, we have, of course, the release of a Minecraft movie, which we did a review on this channel for. And we have some of the box office results coming in. And coming off the weekend, it seems that a Minecraft movie is going to be potentially profitable. It opened to a pretty substantial amount in $301 million, which positions it to be the second highest debut and all-time domestic debut for a video game adaptation. Now, getting into some specifics, financial side of things, the production costs for the film were $150 million. And we don't know, as of this recording, any marketing expenses. And we do know that they are expensive because of just a lot of the advertisements that are out there, McDonald's commercials, amongst other things. So if I were to take a guess, I would say this is probably in a 100 million range, given just how extensive the marketing campaign is. So as it stands, without any marketing numbers, just purely on production, the film would need to make at least, according to my scale, because if you know my scale, if it's a triple-digit budget, I times that by 3. So this would have to do at least $450 million on production to be considered profitable. Opening to $301 million, clearly that it's going to hit that mark probably by next week. So now with marketing, when we finally, if we hear anything about marketing expenses, which I'm guessing are probably an additional 100 million. So as a general investment, it's potentially an investment of $250 million. And he times that by 3, so it would need to make at least $750 million if you're including any marketing expenses. And as it is, and just by word of mouth, just by how the audience appears to be receiving it, this is a big win for Warner Brothers. And currently, as it stands, the first major hit of the year. I mean, there's, of course, some indies that performed well. But yeah, it seems that people are eating up this film. I had lost some faith on how it would financially do based on some early projections. They were like pretty low. They were sitting at like 40 or 50 million domestically. Obviously, it has shattered those expectations, almost like triple those amounts that they were talking about. And this is pretty likely going to make profit. So I think for now, it's a sigh of relief, I would imagine, for the higher ups at Warner Brothers, because we've been discussing some changes that are going on. At least for now, they should be a little bit happy, I'm pretty sure. Changes are bound to happen soon, though. But at least there's a silver lining in this dark cloud that has been with Warner Brothers lately. So, because as the year goes, I mean, just talking generally speaking, it's still been fairly grim. So, I mean, we'll see how the summer unfolds, but at least there's some kind of pot of gold at the end of this. I don't know if you'd call it a rainbow, but definitely a dark clouds of a spring season. So it's great to see some life entering back into the theater, even if it's basically a bunch of kids cheering to memes. I mean, it's great, but it's great that, money's being made, but it's kind of sad when you think about it. It's not the film that got people out. It's more or less TikTok and stupid memes, but hey, in this case, whatever press may be, it was good for the film, and it appears it's going to be having some strong legs throughout the month. So I think we can call this a success right now. I know it's fairly early to say, but there's really no competition coming this month. There's Sinners, which is the other film from Warner Brothers that we'll see how that may do. But yeah, I think Warner Brothers right now should be giving themselves a little pat on the back because they they've positioned themselves to where they are going to potentially, very much so, turn a profit. So good on Warner Brothers. They definitely needed a win. So speaking of bad press or good press, let's talk about Snow White once again. This is probably the last time we talk about it because we had gotten some numbers from Deadline in reference to the losses that Snow White will be amounting to. Now, we know Snow White basically bombed, and there have been no official or like some, multiple sources, referring to how much the movie will lose, probably because some of them have stock with Disney and all that sort of stuff. I don't know. And that's why they probably are not being told to say anything. I don't know. But Deadline appears to be talking about it. And according to Deadline, the film will lose the company at least $115 million after its theatrical run. And the losses are estimated based on an expecting total worldwide gross of around $225 million. So they're not even thinking that, well, at least Deadline, I jumped ahead. Deadline thinks that the total worldwide gross will end up being a little bit higher because that's what analysts are saying. They're saying 225. Deadline thinks it might be near 300 million. I'll even say that I think that it might end up near 300 million. I'm not sure where it is right now, but according to Deadline, the initial reports of its financial investment were apparently lower than what they actually are. So there is apparently an additional $29 million from residuals and other related expenses, and the marketing expenses were actually $110 million, not $100 million, as was previously reported. So with the production cost as it stands, we know that's be $270, and you combine all these expenses together, it's sitting at $410 million as a general investment if the report is accurate, and if you put all these numbers together in reference to the marketing, the production cost, it's just wow. Jesus. So here's the thing. So regardless of the information that we have here from Deadline, if it's accurate or not, the figures being presented as a loss for what is a $300 plus million dollar investment, which is, they're saying that the film will lose $115 million. I find that to be very suspicious because I don't believe that those are the actual numbers. I think it's a lot higher than what's being reported, especially when you consider the marketing expenses on top of its production cost. Because it just seems too low. I've heard other places saying that they might lose 300 million, which that sounds a lot more. That sounds a lot more in the vein of reality. 115, that just sounds pretty low. So either they are lying, or it's just saying Disney. What they're probably saying is a case of what they are going to lose. Either they're lying, or they're using some tax write-off or something along those lines, an escape code to validate this investment. Similar to how they put a patch on the last Mission Impossible film, so the next one that they already greenlit doesn't seem unjustified, or to avoid massive direct losses for their company. So whatever the case may be, though, clearly, as we've talked about before, it's shaping up to become one of the biggest failures for Disney and generally speaking, potentially in just the industry in the past couple of years, because it is pretty bad. Just how, when you think about just the investment as it is and how much it's taken. I'm curious, actually. I'm just going to look it up right now. How much has Snow White made so far? Let's see. Snow White 2025. Currently, it sits at $168.3 million. Damn. Yeah. Yeah, I just don't believe the report. I mean, the only thing, if we're to believe anything from the report, is if the investment is actually higher than what was previously reported from other outlets. I mean, if it is in fact 410 million, like really 115 million is what you're losing. Yeah, someone's clearly lying. So, because it just doesn't add up. So I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up going to streaming pretty soon, like in the next like week or two. Would not be surprised. They've already been releasing a ton of clips and stuff online, so I think Disney is kind of threw in the towel. They threw in the towel like weeks before the movie came out. We discussed, how Disney was pretty unconfident with this film. But I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up on Disney Plus in this month. Honestly, around this month. So yeah. I mean, we kind of all suspected it would lose money. What they're saying and how much they're going to lose potentially, I think it's actually a lot more, given how it's doing so far. Speaking of Disney, in relation to Snow White, so coming off from what was basically a disastrous performance from Snow White, Disney has officially shelved the upcoming live-action adaptation of Tangled. Now, this was in active development. It was actually heavily into pre-production. And according to Deadline, the film was setting up meetings for potential talent to star in the movie. And according to the Hollywood Reporter, it is unknown if the film will be moving forward or if it has been flat out canceled. The film was being helmed by Michael Gracie, who's most notably directed The Greatest Showman, the one with Hugh Jackman. And there was no planned release date, as far as I can tell. It was just one of those things that was in development. But yeah, as a reason for why it was being shelved, it was due to the performance that was Snow White. And it appears to be that they're doing a reevaluation of their upcoming slate, specifically within their live-action adaptations, and they're basically going to start targeting projects that they believe have better financial possibilities. Hence why this is probably getting canceled, because given the source material, the costs that were likely rising to create the sets, the cast that that was potentially being assembled, I mean, it's pretty clear that Disney didn't see any financial benefits from it. And it, as a result of Snow White, I think that Disney is realizing that they need to become more selective in this specific demographic within their live-action adaptations, because I've been seeing some reports where people are kind of blowing this out of proportion, saying that, now the live-action adaptations are just getting scrapped completely. Obviously, that's not true. We have adaptations on the way. We have Moana, of course, next year, Lilo and Stitch this summer. So they're not going to give up on it. They're just going to reevaluate as to which films they see as potentially profitable, focusing more on profit and less to do with just pulling stuff out of a hat and, just doing whatever, So I think that's what's going to happen. And that's why it appears to me that they're just letting this film off easy. They're not saying it's canceled, but that's pretty much its fate. So yeah. So I think it's a good move for them. Because honestly, I don't even see the potential within this film anyway. Like, I don't think the film was even that popular, so didn't quite understand why we had to do a live action version of this story anyway. So So I think that they dodged a bullet, in all honesty, because this might have not been a great financial move. So, so in a way, thank you, Snow White, for helping them reevaluate in their decision makings. So, but you will get more live action adaptations down the road. It's just they're just going to be more careful this time with which ones they invest into. So. Alrighty, let's get into some CinemaCon news because CinemaCon, of course, happened this past weekend, where all the exhibitors and theater owners come down and they talk about the slates from from the studios, so they can see what films are going to come into their theaters or films that they would want to have accepted into their theaters. And within that, we also get a bunch of news for upcoming films, some announcements here and there, etc. So we're going to start off with the one that I felt was the biggest and I felt to be the most odd. So this was at the Universal panel, I believe. Sam Mendes, who you guys know, has most notably directed films such as 1917, Skyfall, of course, probably one of the more notable James Bond films. He has announced his ambitions to develop 4 separate biopics on the Beatles band. So he's going to be focusing on each individual member, and the ambitions come from release because he is planning to release all 4 projects potentially at the exact same time in April of 2028. So 3 years from now, he'll be potentially doing this idea. Now, the idea is to commit either to a singular release or to separate each release by at least a week. So essentially having 4 films out in the same month or 4 films out at the exact same time. Now, we do know the cast. It will be starring Paul Mescal as Paul McCarthy, Joseph Quinn as George Harrison, Barry Keoghan, I fucked up his name, sorry, the guy from the what's that one film from Yorgos? The Killing of a Sacred Deer, I believe it is. Yeah, I think that was him. He's going to be Ringo Starr, and Harris Dickinson, who you just saw recently in Baby Girl, I believe. He's going to be playing John Lennon. So now, according to Sam Mendes, principal photography for all 4 films will take at least a year to complete. So how it seems like it's going is that 2026 is basically going to be an entire year dedicated to pre-production, and then 2027 is all filming the film, and then of course 2028 is the release. So I sincerely believe that these ambitions will fizzle out quickly. I seriously believe that. I think this is purely for securing a juicy headline and just to get excitement in the room, because this to me is just marketing. Because as a theater owner or as an executive, I'd be very worried about this. You can't have 4 projects released simultaneously and expect them all to perform relatively well. You cannot expect that to work. The market, especially the theatrical experience, especially right now, it cannot sustain and facilitate that kind of idea. It won't prove to be profitable. Even with the popularity the Beatles carry, it does not make financial sense to have these films so close to each other. Because I guess, that's something else we'll get to later. But I guess he was like wanting to do one film, but I guess he wanted to make sure that each member got their time, so that's why he's doing 4 films, which is perfectly fine. But the problem is that you cannot expect all these films to come out and all of them to prove profitable. That's not a smart strategy. What would be more smart is that if you do what you're doing, but you space it out even further. I'm saying like 6 months in between. So where each film has enough time to get proper marketing, proper release, proper attention, because when you do 4 films at the exact same time, you're going to have people gravitating towards 1 or 2 films, and the other 2 films are not going to get as much attention. So, it's the idea now, but with time, I think that they will quickly realize, the studio. I think they'll quickly realize how dumb, frankly, this idea really is, and they're going to space out these releases a lot further. So, because it just financially doesn't make a whole lot of sense in what they're doing. Studios cannot afford to be risky right now. They can't do that. If they end up doing this, like if they actually do commit to this, I just read my notes. It wasn't Universal. It's actually Sony who's behind this. If they end up doing this, Sony, I think, honestly, would be the most incompetent of all the studios. Like you'd make WB look good by comparison if you commit to this idea of a singular release or 4 films in the exact same month. No, you're dumb if you do it. You honestly are dumb if you think this is a good idea. It's not. It's great to get reactions from the crowd, but financially speaking, as an investment, you need to space these things out way further, because this is not going to work. It's just not. So, all right. Going from Sony to Lionsgate, they didn't have much to talk about at their panel. We'll get into that in a second, but of course, the one thing that they do have in terms of a franchise or anything noteworthy to discuss is, of course, the John Wick series. We have the upcoming Ballerina coming out this summer, and they announced a ton of things regarding John Wick. Lots of intentions to basically expand the brand with multiple projects in development. So, first of which is an animated feature, which will be serving as a prequel to the original film. It's basically seeing John Wick more in his prime, before he got older. Keanu Reeves is expected to return to voice the title character. This film will be directed by Shannon Tyndall, and it's based on a script by Vanessa Taylor. I'm not familiar with their work, so I'll leave some pictures here if I'm familiar with, if any of their films pop up or if anything noteworthy pops up from them. But we have that coming out, or at least that's in development. We have a spin-off centralizing on Kane, the blind assassin from John Wick Chapter 4. That's going to be directed by the actor himself, Donnie Yen, with Mattson Tomlin, who is writing the upcoming Batman Part 2. He is currently rewriting the script from a previous screenwriter. And, of course, the big announcement is a 5th installment in the main series is on the way. So John Wick 5 is officially happening. Keanu Reeves is expected to reprise his role, as well as the original director, Chad Stahelski. They're coming back to helm the project. And yeah, so with Ballerina on the way, we have basically 4 projects in development, 2 spinoffs, 1 continuation, and then 1 prequel. So, yeah, I said before, I think that the last film was a proper conclusion to the story. I don't think that needing to continue forward makes any sense. It just feels kind of tacked on at this point. Doesn't feel as significant. For the company's sake or case, I see, like I get why, because it's the only thing as of late that's proven to be profitable. But when you see just the lackluster performances that they've had, especially with like a lot of things that were being positioned to be other franchises for them, like Borderlands and other things like smaller films here and there, you could see why they're overcompensating when it comes to John Wick, because they don't have a huge financial support coming from their other projects. So they are basically capitalizing on the one that consistently generates them money. So the problem with doing this, though, is that you run the risk of fatigue and a lack of interest. Like, to be honest with you, the only film of these four that I would be curious of is the animated feature. Because if you do it under a hard rating, specific styles like an anime type, I think, sure, that could be interesting. A different stylistic change. I think that'd be rather interesting. I think they're going to go more into the Spider-Verse with this, let's just be honest, because that's just the trend nowadays. But I don't think the spin-offs are going to prove to be that much of a good decision. I think Ballerina, I think most of us are expecting that to not do too well, just because there's not a whole lot of interest from what I can tell. So I don't see the point of doing a Kane spin-off. Just don't see it really. I don't think that even the studio really wants to do it if the director himself has to get behind the camera. I just think the series, as it is for me, I just think it's done. Chapter 4, I think, kind of put it in a good place for me. So I don't personally need to see another film. And I just don't have a desire to see other aspects of this world either. So they're doing what they have to do because the company doesn't have anything else to really hold on to. But I worry that they're running the risk of fatigue. So you're definitely getting more John Wick in the future, definitely for at least a couple of years. But I worry that the series is going to fizzle out rather quickly with a bunch of things like this in development. But we'll see. Alrighty, a separate announcement from CinemaCon. This happened on its own. According to multiple sources, a follow-up to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is apparently in development. And David Fincher is going to be helming the project. Brad Pitt is expected to return to reprise his role from the original. And it's going to be utilizing a screenplay from Quentin Tarantino. It will be distributed by Netflix under David Fincher's first look deal, and it is potentially will begin shooting late this summer, according to The Hollywood Reporter. From what we vaguely know of the original intentions behind Tarantino's supposed final film, if you guys remember, it was a film called The Movie Critic. Brad Pitt was supposed to be in that film as well, and he was supposedly going to play the character that he played in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood in that film. So it sounds like, I don't know if it's been confirmed or not, but it sounds like that they're utilizing that specific script that Tarantino wrote for that film and now positioning it as a follow-up to the original film of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So as far as that film goes, I mean, I remember having a decent time with it. I don't have a great desire to revisit that world or that movie ever since that one viewing I had. So I don't know. I mean, David Fincher, as a name, he's always interesting to me. Promising talent, but I just don't see much of a need to adventure back into these old grounds. It just doesn't really resonate for me. So it may be the reason why Tarantino opted to do something different for his supposed final film, just to do something a little more original rather than having to, do a, another story within a specific world. So, but hey, if you liked the original, it looks like you're going to get more of it and more of Brad Pitt specifically. No mention of Leonardo DiCaprio. It sounds like he's not coming back, so it's going to be Brad Pitt's film to anchor. So I'm not really that interested. I'm really not. I'm more interested by just the fact that Tarantino is utilizing now David Fincher's utilizing an old script from Tarantino, and Tarantino's willingness to just kind of let someone else shepherd his screenplay. So, but yeah, you're getting another one. It'll be available on Netflix sometime in the future, probably next year if they're going to be shooting this year. So, Speaking of uncertain release dates, let's talk about the upcoming biopic on Michael Jackson. So, one of the most notable absent things from the CinemaCon was at the Lionsgate panel, because they have a upcoming biopic for Michael Jackson, simply titled Michael, coming out this year, specifically in October, and no mention of the film at all at their panel. Well, it turns out, according to some sources, specifically Deadline, they are facing some troubles with regards to that film. So it appears to be that they are looking to add a different form of release, or potentially different forms of release, and reshoots are also taking place, likely looking at a imminent delay, and potentially multiple release windows, because according to Deadline, the film's runtime has ballooned to a nearly 4-hour cut. So they are potentially going to be having multiple release windows to help cut down on runtime, just releasing basically 1 2.5 feature and another 2.5 feature separately. But according to Variety, the script is being reworked in preparation for reshoots, and also from the same source, Variety, the production costs have amounted to $155 million, which does not appear to include any of the upcoming reshoots. So there has been no final decisions made on the release strategy, or if there will indeed be a delay. So coming this October, you may or may not get a 4-hour feature, probably not. Or what's going to happen is that they're going to delay the film, and from that, they may or may not do multiple release strategy. So it sounds like, when you hear about the reshoots upcoming, and the runtime itself, it sounds like that there is a combination of both artistic decisions and some pushback potentially from the estate in regards to the content that may be shown. Because from what I've read about this film, it looks like they're going to be exploring specific parts of Michael Jackson's career, some sexual allegations that were made against him, which may be a part of why they're looking to do reshoots. I think I read that somewhere, that's part of the reason why they're doing some reshoots, because the estate pushed back on some of those depictions, or some of those aspects of the film. Now, talking about the film itself, the runtime being 4 hours, I think if you're going to split this into 2 features, I think it actually may prove to be more financially sound, because in that way, you'll have 2 healthier budgeted projects to release rather than one major tentpole. Because if you have, right as it stands, $155 million, that's not including marketing costs, by the way, that's a bit of a gamble compared to doing, when you divide that up, the 155, roughly you have then 2 $80 million expenses rather than one $155 million expense. So I think that there's just better, I think it's just better financial returns, with those sort of odds. And also, you're guaranteed more auditoriums with having 2.5 hour films rather than one 4-hour feature, because with a 4-hour feature, you have limitations on how long and how many times it could play per day at a theater. So I think that if you were to ask me, I'd say go for 2. I think it proved better for them in the long run. I think it's less of a risk at this point. So I think it seems like that's where it's going. And I think that that's honestly the better idea at this point, given just how long the film has gotten and the production cost as it stands. So yeah. So I think that they'll end up doing 2 films, and I think that ultimately that is the better decision at the end of the day. It just guarantees more auditoriums, and it's less of a financial risk in that respect. Getting back to some CinemaCon news, talking about the Universal panel, um, or at least this was announced outside of the panel, I believe. This was coming off of the premiere, actually, of the live-action adaptation of How to Train Your Dragon. They had the first public screening at CinemaCon, and coming off of that premiere, they have announced, Universal Pictures, they've announced their intentions to develop a follow-up. They are reportedly pleased with how the original has been, the adaptation. They're reportedly pleased with how it's been received, and just by general just production, they seemed pleased with it. And they are putting faith in its production. So they're moving forward with a follow-up, or at least they are looking to develop another one. So I've never been satisfied with studios greenlighting projects without seeing the projections or the grosses of the first film. I mean, it's hard to gauge how this may do considering where it's being positioned in the summer. Like, it's in the June month, and that's where films like Megan are coming out and other things. So, and then we're, approaching July with Jurassic World, Superman, other things. It's, it's there's a lot of competition. So I think it's a little foolish to make announcements like this. I think it's better just to wait, just to see how it financially does. Because it's always nice to see studios have faith in their projects, but this is more or less blind faith, if you ask me. So let's see how it does first before we announce the sequel, because currently, there's no guarantee that the film is even going to do well. Yes, the reception is positive based off that one screening. It was going to be positive. You're in that type of room, that type of environment. You're not necessarily thinking clearly. So, you don't have the best frame of mind if you're in that environment. So, it's basically that of a world movie premiere. It's just, so, and also it's calculated. People they get specific people to show up to those type of events. So, but we'll see. We'll see if these decisions prove to be worthwhile. We'll just see. I have to wait and see. Comes out in June, so we'll see if hype is generated then. I'm pretty sure it might prove to do okay, but I just wish that they would hold off on announcements like this. It's just because it doesn't seem smart, if you ask me. So, alrighty, we have got a couple of trailers to discuss for today, and then we are going to call it a day. So let's get into it. So I had mentioned this already in discussing How to Train Your Dragon, and that is in regards to Superman. So we got an official sneak peek. This was shown at CinemaCon, and it's also being played in front of a Minecraft movie currently in theaters. Basically, it's a clip with also some extensions of footage from the original trailer. We're hearing that we might get another trailer potentially, which I find it weird. It's like, why would you release this then? You might as well just release the trailer, I don't know if I will watch that trailer though. I don't know, because I feel like I've seen enough at this point. We'll see. But we have this clip, and it's basically an extension of the beginning of the trailer when Superman falls out of the sky, and then his doggy comes to save him, Crypto. So, my general feelings are pretty mediocre. I can acknowledge the potential for resonance within its filmmaking. It appears to be aiming for somewhat of a balance between some emotional centers and humorous, type counterparts. But I just can't find myself completely interested. It just appears to be a bit formulaic in its general approach. It just feels a lot like your average superhero flick. It doesn't have much of a spice to it. So, except just what we know of it to be, importance for the company, the creation of a new universe and rebranding and their most popular brands, trying to make it work now, rebooting it again. That's just outside stuff, though. For the film itself, just how it is, I am just not getting a lot of distinction. It just seems pretty common, pretty familiar. It just seems to have more in common with what's common in this genre. Like if you get my understanding there. So I'm not particularly interested. I mean, all I know is, like I said, this is very important for the company, and there's a lot of pressure for it to succeed. So, like I said, they can have a little sigh of relief with Minecraft, how that's doing, but Superman is definitely an important thing for them because, like I said, it's rebranding, rebooting their most noteworthy properties. So we'll see. We'll see. I have my doubts, man, because especially its competition. We have Jurassic World, Fantastic Four that are also playing the same month as this. So we'll see, man. We'll see. We will see how it all pans out. So, and I don't know if I'll talk about the next trailer. I don't know, because I feel like I've seen enough at this point. But we'll see then. So. Alrighty, the next trailer we're going to discuss is the official trailer for Tron Ares. This is the next film in the Tron series, the third installment. This stars Jared Leto, Evan Peters, Greta Lee, and of course Jeff Bridges is back. This is being directed by Joaquin Ronan, the guy who gave us the last Pirates of the Caribbean film, Dead Men Tell No Tales, and Maleficent 2, Mistress of Evil. This has a release date for October 10th, 2025, and I am not familiar with the Tron series, so I can't say if this is a fateful entry. I don't know if they're just doing something completely different, but all I can say is that if the trailer paints an accurate representation of the vibes of this film, I'm digging what I'm seeing. I honestly am digging what I'm seeing. Now, I actually did see the D23 footage. I just stumbled upon it online, and I saw the whole thing. So I actually have seen more footage from this. I don't know if it's still online, but I actually was able to see more footage from this. And I gotta say, I'm definitely interested because to the ear, to the just the slick score, just the vibes, I'm liking what I'm seeing. I'm always down for a cyberpunk type flavor in storytelling. Seems to be taking some notes from your typical sci-fi inspirations. Blade Runner appears to be a heavy inspiration, so obviously you're going to get me hooked if you're going to use a very awesome, very fantastic piece of science fiction like Blade Runner. So I am pretty optimistic. Now we'll see in terms of a narrative what they deliver, but visually and tonally, I am definitely interested. So, like I said, I'm not familiar with Tron, so I can't say if this is a complete departure, if it's pretty faithful, but all I can say is that it definitely looks promising to me. So, based on this trailer and based off of what I saw from that D23 footage that I saw online, I am definitely curious to see how this shapes. So, it comes out in October, so I'll definitely be keeping an eye out for this one. So, all right. Next trailer we're going to discuss is the teaser for Five Nights at Freddy's 2. Of course, this is the follow-up to Five Nights at Freddy's, which came out in 2023. It was a big hit when it came out. And, of course, now we have a sequel. It has Josh Hutcherson returning, Matthew Lillard, newcomer McKenna Grace. This is being directed once again by Emma Tammy, who directed the first one. And this has a release date for December 5th, 2025. I believe right now it's playing the same day as Avatar 3, right? Let me just make sure, because I thought I read that somewhere. Avatar 3. what's the release date on Avatar 3? Oh, it's December 19th. Okay, my bad. So never mind. So this plays actually a few weeks before Avatar. Good, because they would have been destroyed by Avatar, or at least they wouldn't stack up to how Avatar is probably going to play out. But if you liked the original, this appears to be more of the same. If you didn't like the original, which I really didn't like, I did not like the original. It appears to be more of the same mindless and cheap aesthetics that you've seen before. I just really don't care. It was one of the worst films I saw the year it came out. So, yeah, I just don't care. It's going to do good business. We know that. We know this is going to do good business. Like Megan, we know is going to do great. This we also know is going to do great. So Blumhouse is setting itself up for a good year. I just won't be there to see it. I just don't care. I really don't care. The first film was so nonsensical, and considering the kind of money that it made, I doubt that this is going to be any different. So you can count me out on this. I'm pretty sure my brother will see it. Maybe he might do his own review for it. I don't know. But yeah, I just don't really care, in all honesty. So. And finally, we have the official trailer for Karate Kid Legends. We talked about the teaser, which, kind of gave an idea of sorts of how the filmmaking is. And now we have an official trailer now, laying out more of a story and giving you more of a better view of how things are going to be with this. And from the footage now, I just feel validated in saying that I just don't care. I don't really care. There's a real lack of bite or a sense of depth in its filmmaking. It seems very, very shallow. Pretty much just stripped down to its basics and kind of left to bathe in that place. So I'm honestly a little, like, I'm just kind of surprised it's not going to streaming. Like, I know Netflix holds the Cobra Kai rights, or at least, houses the Cobra Kai show. So I'm surprised that this isn't just some kind of like companion piece to that, something to bill for Netflix, because I really don't see a lot of interest for this film. Like, I just don't see a lot of people coming. I don't see a lot of people coming out to see it. I don't know. Maybe the kids love this series. I don't know. Cobra Kai is not a show that I'm all too familiar with. I know my brother loves the show, so he's obviously gonna go see this. But I don't know, man. It just looks very mediocre to me. It just doesn't really appear to be a whole lot. So I don't know if I'll be dragged to see this for my brother. Between the two, I wouldn't mind seeing Karate Kid over Five Nights at Freddy's, because I really did not like Five Nights at Freddy's. This just looks really, really shallow. I just don't see a lot of appeal for it. And I doubt that a lot of other people will too, because Karate Kid has never been a Rocky. And they're trying to position it as a Rocky of some sorts by putting it out theatrically. It's not the same. It was birthed from a Rocky script, if you know your history about Karate Kid, but it's not on the same level. It's just not. So I think this is better suited for streaming, especially because I think Netflix can hide their losses. And I just think that by design, it just seems more suitable in that respect. It's not something that I think I would seek out in the theater. But having a brother who loves the show, I probably will get dragged to it. So as it is, I just think it just looks very, very, very bland, if you were to ask me. So but yeah, those are my thoughts for this week, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you if you sat through this. This was a long video. About 50 minutes now we're going. So Thank you guys for tuning in. Let me know all of your thoughts on all these topics with Minecraft, how it's been doing at the box office, Snow White, how it's not been doing at the box office, the cancellation of Tangled, 4 Beatles films potentially coming out at the same time, all the John Wick announcements, Once Upon a Time 2, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood 2, my bad. Some of the issues revolving around the Michael Jackson biopic, How to Train Your Dragon 2, and all the trailers that we just discussed, Superman, Tron, Five Nights at Freddy's, Karate Kid. Let me know all your thoughts on all these topics in the comment section below. And that's going to be it for this video, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. And until then, I will catch you guys in the next video. Bye.